Friday night, and the drinks are on my mind. The decision sets in, one that will churn your skin. The lover's right, let them have their time. And I have this notion, let's keep these wheels in motion. In motion. You thought I did not know. Did you think I would let it go? Oh no. And in time, yes, I think it's absurd, but until then you'll leave your words. Well, lay on, lay on. Now it's time to defend your lies, lies you've been feeding me all this time. And will you reoffend? Oh darling, you say that you are innocent, but your ways, they seem irrelevant, but still play on. Now it's time to defend your lies, lies you've been feeding me all this time. And will you reoffend? Oh darling, oh you have reached your lover's end. No more will we make pretend like we something to fight for. Oh. We had nothing to fight for. 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 never the one to believe in hostilities, but you still enforce the worst upon me, upon me. All you wanted was love, but that was never enough. No, never enough. 'Cause you were chasing your dreams, now you can't redeem yourself. 'Cause you were chasing your dreams, now you can't redeem yourself. Disregarding your name, your smell is all that remains. They say you're an SLUT, but that doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit well with me. I remembered what you'd say. We're all looking to be alone. Somehow, someday, we'll find what we're looking for. Till then, you'll still be a boy. To be alone. And somehow, someday, we'll find what we're looking for. Until then, we'll all be yours.
Good evening, race fans. I'm Pirate here with Black Flag Racing TV, and it is a Wednesday evening, which means one thing and one thing only. It's Open GR3 Season number 2, Round 7, and we are live this evening from the Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. Last week we were at Dragon Trail Gardens, and this is how we look after that race last week. Kevin 77 leads the way back into the lead after PM10 took a holiday in the US. And welcome back, of course, PM10 Racing. But he now leads away 126 points. He's clear at the top of the leaderboard. PM10 in second. Demos is third. VR46 just outside that top three, about 83 points for him. He's in fourth place. Avalon just 3 points back in fifth. Star Group Senior still not out of it either. It's still a potential top three for him, 78 points. And then everybody else is out of the running, I think, for the top three at this stage, wouldn't you say? But still all to race for those others involved. And do be aware that I know Thanos is on there twice. That's because he had 2 accounts on Simile Pro, and they are currently being merged, and then that will sort out, and then it will be just one Thanos on there with both sets of points. That's a job on the to-do list. So this week, we're at the Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. It's in the USA, of course, in Atlanta, Georgia. 4 kilometres, just over 4 kilometres, 2.5 miles, 12 turns. It is a real world track. It is tarmac. It is a very, very tricky circuit. You've got the S's at turn 2, 3, and 4. After turn 1, of course, which is a sweeping right-hander. Turns 2, 3, and 4 in the S's, which take you down, and then up into turn 5. Again, you have to be really careful there because you can quite easily go wide and pick up a penalty. Then down to turn 6 and 7. 7 is key because that gives you a long run then down through. Technically, turn 8 and 9 don't exist. You're flat out down there. They're not real turns. So you head down that hill, flat out into what they call 10A and 10B, which is essentially 8 and 9. Big hard braking into the left-hander, then sweep round the right-hander, get on that power into the final corner, which isn't really, that's flat out around there. So you're not, you're kind of on the power pretty much straight away and heading down to the start-finish line to complete another lap. But that's that simple. We're a couple of minutes away from qualifying. We'll have a quick run through who is in the running this evening. So Stormfly is in the 911 RSR. Demos in the RX Vision GT3. Avalon, unsurprisingly, in the 911. With PM10 Racing in that brilliant AMG Mercedes, and that's the car he wants to use to try and usurp Kevin at the top of the leaderboard. GMAC in the Mustang GR3, and this is the first of 2 races for GMAC tonight. He's entering in the Hyper GR1 Challenge, which begins this evening, and you can catch that live on Black Flag TV pretty much straight after this. Kevin 77, he's in that Dodge Viper SRT, which is a very, very cool car. Corvette for Thanos. Mardos is in the WRX. Bandit in the Mustang. Wiggy, I think, is still in the GT14. So that's your 11 runners this evening. I don't think anyone else is due to come. And we are about a minute away from qualifying. Turn 1's going to be key because you've got to be so careful going into turn 1 here. You come upon it so very quickly from the start. You just have to make sure that you're, you can go side by side through there, but you need to kind of pay attention and make sure you're just keeping an eye on what's going on. And qualifying is about to start, and we will see where everyone ends up. After qualifying, called 60-minute race. Settings are as follows. I will go through it now. It's a good start, full start check, obviously. 5 litres a second refill. They start on half a tank. It's times 4 on tyres, times 4 on fuel. Light mechanical damage. 15-minute qualifying, of course. And then it's obviously BOP settings. Shortcut penalty is on, as are most of the other penalties, car collision included. And yeah, pretty much standard stuff. So into qualifying we go. We'll see who gets out there first. I want that. I want that. So Kevin's out. Pretty much everyone is out on track already. Bandit's still in the pits, as is PM10. I think they're waiting for maybe a gap in the traffic. Who are we going to do it on board with? Who is the lead car? Let's find them. Who is it? I can't. Oh, there it is. So Avalon is the lead car in that 911. He's got GMAC not too far away from the back of him. So here we go. We'll do a full lap around here, and we'll see just how good it is. So you kind of set up your lap from there. You've got no more braking zones before you start a fresh lap. You're on the power. You sweep round past that grandstand on the left hand side, and then you head down to turn 1, which is a good big right hander, changing down to he's actually doing it in 5th gear, so I didn't even have to brake that hard on this 911. Then you've got the S as you sweep round to the left, to the right, where you change down through the gears. Not much braking, just use the gears to slow you down, and then in you go round the corner, and then again through the S's, left and right, on that power again, and then through this tricky turn. You go wide here, you will pick up a penalty. Phil, just to point out, you can use VR now. They fixed the bug, so you can use VR in league races if you wish. I did put a post up about it the other day in the Discord, but maybe it got swallowed up with other stuff. So absolutely, you can race in the league with VR now. The bug has been fixed. Then basically you've got those two right-handers, as you probably saw, and then you head all the way down this long hill. There's a couple of turns in there, but you are pretty much flat out. Slipstream's going to be king there. Into the braking zone you go, and GMAC really much better on the brakes at the end of that straight. Good bit of slipstream helped him out there, so he's actually going to have a faster lap here as they sweep round to complete the first hot lap. That's a 1:17.8 pole position for GMAC. Immediately beaten though by Stormfly, who puts himself on pole with a 1:16.7. Kevin doesn't quite beat that time. It's just a tenth and a half back. He's done a 1:16.8 in that Viper. Midas with a 1:17.7 is almost second off that time. So GMAC's 1:17.8 didn't last very long at the top of the tree. Panos with a 1:17.8 as well. There is only 0.06 of a second difference between his time and that of GMAC. Wiggy another second further back in that GT40. You would have thought the GT40 would be a brilliant car around here, being that it's that kind of American race car, but it looks like he's struggling with that back end. 1:18.8 is the best he's done so far. PM10 Racing with his first hot lap, that puts him into row 3. 1:18.4 for him. Avalon no better than 8th with that lap. There's a 1:19.0. Thanos with a 1:19.7. Bandit's done a 1:19.7 as well. There is only 8 thousandths of a difference to separate Thanos from Bandit at the moment. Bandit, of course, in that Mustang. And Demos with a 1:22.7. He's usually quicker than that, so I would expect to see that time tumbling down a little bit. And we're starting to see the times improving. Kevin puts himself on pole. That's a 1:16.6, just under a tenth faster than Stormfly's first hot lap. He hasn't been able to improve just yet. 16.7 is his fastest, but that's your front row, Kevin and Stormfly. 5 minutes of qualifying gone, 10 minutes of qualifying still to go. Midas and Panos at the moment make up row 2 with a 1:17.0 for Midas, and just 2/10 back is Panos with a 1:17.3. He's in that BMW. I'm not sure how good the BMW is going to be around here, but at the moment he's got himself on row 2, so it can't be that terrible. Demos with a 17.4 is joined by GMAC on row 3, and row 4 will be Wiggy and PM10 at the moment, with Avalon, Thanos making up row 5, and Bandit at the rear with, and he's just improved actually with an 18.9. That's 7/10 difference between him and the rest of the pack. I'll be back very, very quickly. Apologies for that. I had to go and grab some painkillers for my leg. Tonight, please. Right, where we at? What's changed? Is PM10 still holiday rusty? Well, it certainly looks that way. Obviously, he hasn't been here to practice too much, but Kevin is leading the charge at the moment, and he hasn't improved yet on that 1:16.6. But neither has Stormfly improved on his either. Well, it's slightly 1:16.6 for him as well, but that was a pit lap by the looks of it, so won't count. Midas with a 17.0. It hasn't been able to improve since his third fastest lap. Demos is just 4 hundredths slower than Midas at the moment with a 1:17.1, sorry. Thanos with a 17.2, 10th between them, and then just 2 hundredths between Thanos and Panos. Very close in terms of pace. These Greek boys in that from sort of third back to sixth. There's not a lot that separates them, and actually at the moment just 6/10 separates Kevin on pole and Panos in 6th place. Avalon Shadow, he looks like he's quit qualifying now. He seems to be happy with that 7th place. He's only a second back from the lead in 7th, or row 4. Wiggy in that GT40 trying, as he might, just to improve his track position with that car. But you can see how much the back end struggles. You kind of expect it to be a better car around somewhere like Road Atlanta, with it being an American car and an American track. But it's such a temperamental car. 1:17.7 for him, 1.1 seconds off pole time. GMAC is just 1.1 seconds off pole, 1.17 off pole. He's only 6 hundredths slower than Wiggy. PM10 hasn't done better than 10th, 1:18.0 in that Mercedes-Benz. So definitely still rusty from his holiday. He returned a couple of days ago. But you can see, just how far off the pace is. He does improve though, quite significantly. I accuse him of being off the pace, and he says, "Let me show you something," and puts in a 1:16.9 to put himself on the second row. Initially in third, but then immediately Demos with a 1:16.9, 1,000th of a second quicker is the difference between Demos and PM10. 1,000th of a second. Demos does a 1:16.911. And PM10 Racing does a 9:16.912. The blink of an eye, not even the blink of an eye, faster than the blink of an eye. So down the order, Bandit, he was 7/10 off at the back. He's now 8/10 off. He's finding it difficult since lap 4 to dial in anything under a 1:18.6. If he can find a second round here in that Mustang, it's really going to improve. But having a penalty there is not going to help. GMAC's going very, very slowly. That's not going to be a quick lap. He's in the same car, so he's done a 1:17.8. But since that first hot lap he did, he hasn't been able to improve. The closest he's got was last time out with a 17.910, and Midas stonking through in that WRX. Wiggy still with a 17.7, not been able to improve on that, and actually the time has been getting slower. Thanos out there still. He's improved his time. He's gone 1:17.2, but he's already up on that time. He's not up enough to take pole, but is he up enough to put himself anywhere near that front row? Comes round the last succession of corners, heads down towards the start-finish line in that car. And there he goes across the line. So 1:17.2 for him in the Corvette. I know what it was. Panos is just putting on some fresh tyres and a little bit more fuel to give himself another whack at it. In fact, he's left those tyres on and just put on a bit of fuel. Has he put on some fuel? Doesn't look like he has, because he's coming out and it's still flashing. To put in one more hot lap potentially. 16.9 is his best so far. 16.9.969. Boom, boom. PM10 Racing, he's on road 2 now. He did the 16.912. He has got to find 1,000 of a second, and he found a little bit more than that with a 16.834. He stays on row 2, but now in 3rd place, and opens up that gap from Demos to 700ths of a second. Remember, it was 1,000 separating them, and he's just found that little bit of extra time, just an extra a few hundredths, and he's up into 3rd. Stormfly goes fastest, puts himself on pole with a 1:16.386, nearly 2.5 tenths up on Demos, who at the moment relegates Kevin down to the 2nd row. This is a strange thing we haven't seen for a while. So Demos putting in a stonking 1:16.6, just 0.8 of a second slower than Stormfly. Sorry, two tenths slower than Stormfly, and 0.8 of a second quicker than the current championship leader, and of course the reigning GR3 champion, Kevin 77. So he's going to put on a bit more fuel, have one more blast at this. You're literally going to get one out lap, one hot lap. That's all you've got time for. Has he got something extra he's been holding back to put him back on pole? PM10 Racing, he seems quite happy with that in 4th. He's stayed in the pits. It doesn't look like he's coming out for another run. Midas as well, he's staying in. He's not coming out for another run. Panos still out there in the BMW. He's having one more crack at it to see what he can churn out. He might actually have time for 2 hot laps if he gets a wriggle on here. With the lap only being 1:16 seconds, it's very likely he is going to get a second crack at the whip. So here he goes. The lag of the Greek internet connection is rearing its ugly head again. It's so disappointing because everything else is so on point with the broadcast, apart from the wiggly woggly cars. Thanos, he's having one more go. He's just finished his out lap. He's only going to get one more crack. Oh, actually, he might get 2. I think he's close enough to get one more after this. Wiggy settled. Avalon settled. He's dropped down to 9th place. GMAC can't improve. It looks like actually the Mustang is probably more the problem than the speed there for Bandit. And I'm going to point out again, you still have Virtual Racers Club on your window banner, my friend. You've added Club Leaf on there and Black Flag, I'm aware of that, but you've still got VRC on the window banner. Right, so Stormfly has settled. He's sat in the pits, just eagerly waiting to see if anyone can improve, as GMAC goes with a 17.4, which drops Avalon down to 10th position. He'll be behind GMAC on the 5th row. Demos and Kevin, the 2 to watch, they're vying to try and find a little bit more pace, to find a way around Stormfly. And Demos doesn't improve. He's done a 17.1 that time out. He's got one more go at it. Kevin, however, this is his last shot. This is his last crack at putting in a hot lap. And at the moment, he is down on his time. So he's got to find not just the 2 tenths to Stormfly, he's got to find 3 tenths of his own as well. So he's got to find somewhere between here and the end of the lap over half a second if he wants to be on pole. He also needs to find 0.8 if he wants to be on the front row. So this could be the unprecedented first time that Kevin doesn't qualify on the front row of the grid. Certainly with the race that he finishes anyway. Good evening, Jason. How are you? GMAC was under the impression you were racing in the GR1 High Pre event tonight, but I thought you were working, buddy. Who knows? Who knows? So Kevin crossed the line. He doesn't improve. He stays 3rd. Demos, he's the last man out there now. Does Kevin have to get? He can't get another go, surely. No, he must be finished. So here we go. Demos coming through. This is his last chance. I think it looks like he is down. He's not going to improve on that. He does go across the line. He stays on the front row, but cannot get pole. So that is a pole position for Stormfly VR46 with a stonking 1:16.386. That is a very, very good qualifying lap. And so there we go. So your front row will be Stormfly and Demos. Row 2 will be Kevin with PM10 Racing. Midas and Panos will be on row 3. Okay. No, I think that's why GMAX assumed, because you sorted out the livery, I think that's why he assumed you were racing. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, because I don't remember seeing you say you were going to race there. But there we go. Anyway, so Midas Panos, they're on row 3. Thanos and Wiggy will be row 4. G-Mac and Avalon on row 5. And Bandit will bring up the rear in 11th place, all alone on row 6 in place 11. So he's going to be Rory. So there we have it. Oh, there's no point covering that up, is there? So there we go. Stormfly from Demos, Kevin from PM10, Midas from Panos, Thanos from Wiggy, G-Mac from Avalon, and then Bandit in 11th position. Interesting to see the top 2 in the championship, Kevin and PM10, are sitting in 3rd and 4th. We can have a look at that, actually. So that's your current top 3. It's Kevin, PM10, Demos, and actually Demos is ahead. In fact, the top 4 on the grid are the top 4 on the leaderboard, but in almost opposite. So 4th place in the leaderboard, VR46, he's currently on pole. Demos is 3rd on the leaderboard. He is currently sitting on the front row in 2nd. PM10 Racing, 2nd in the championship, is 4th, just behind the current championship leader. Kevin, 77, who's 126 points, is clear in the lead of this championship. But it can all change tonight. It only takes one little mistake. So here we go. Race will start, and we are in a unique position that things actually work properly. Let's keep an eye on, let's go from, Panos in 6th. So there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5 lights. They'll go out and we will be racing. This is the GR3 round number 7. And everyone seems to get away with it. Kevin with a great start. Demos trying to knock on that door, trying to find a way past Stormfly. But doesn't, the door just does not open for him. But where did he go? What happened to Stormfly? Stormfly is off. Avalon Shadow is through. Who else went off with Stormfly? I think that was Thanos. Did they have a coming together? Was there, did he go wide? Was there contact there? That's the big question. Because they were going 3 abreast into that turn. Now, no one's got damage. So I assume that was just going wide. So, all changed already. Demos currently in the lead of this race. PM10 Racing up into 2nd in that AMG Mercedes. Kevin in 3rd. Midas in 4th. Panos is away in 5th. G-Mac up into 6th. That's a really good start from G-Mac. Obviously benefiting from the demise of others, of course. Bandit, great start from him as well. Up into 7th. So those Mustangs, very, very hot off the line. And the answer to that is absolutely he can't. Sturgatos, how you doing, buddy? Yes, good luck to all indeed. Wiggy in that GT40 drops back to 8th place. Avalon Shadow is up to 9th. There's Stormfly, he went off in turn 1, he is in 10th. And Thanos, 3.8 seconds, 3.9 seconds back, is in 11th place. It just goes to show how everything can go horribly wrong in one corner. Obviously, if there was contact there, that will be looked at. But there didn't seem to be any damage on any car, so I don't know if there was. Obviously, I will keep my eye open for any steward inquiries that come my way. So your leader, Demos, absolutely stonking. And him and PM10 had a really good battle in qualifying. They qualified at one stage. There was a 1/1000th of a second between them in qualifying time. But in the end, Demos won out. PM10 won out and was ahead of him. Although, albeit briefly, because now Demos leads this race. In terms of tyre choices, everybody's starting on the soft compound. Oh, no, they're not. Bandit started on the medium compound tyres, strangely. Everybody else on the soft compounds, which I think is the right choice. You start with half a tank of fuel. It's quite an abrasive track here at Road Atlanta, so it will take a lot out of your tyres relatively quickly. But to be fair, if he can stick there in 7th Bandit, and still have the grip that he needs to stay there on those medium tyres, that gives him options that he doesn't have to run those tyres again. He may choose just to run the soft compounds. I don't know. I haven't seen testing, to be fair, as you know. I've been incredibly busy, so I don't know how long these soft tyres even last. We'll see though. So lap 3 here, 3 minutes in, it's lap 3 there on. Now I could do the math, and if we say around 1 minute 20 a lap with pit stops, so you're looking at what, 3 laps every 4 minutes, there or thereabouts. So I can't be bothered. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So after 40 minutes, you do 30 laps. So yeah, it's going to be about 50 laps, I reckon. Somewhere around 45 to 50 laps. Let's go 45 laps. Let's do that. 45 laps. I think that's not far off it. So softs 8 laps, medium 16 to 17. Is that the case though with these settings? Because the settings are slightly different from that of the Porsche Cup. I think it might be more abrasive actually. We'll see. But Demos at the moment absolutely stonking. He is flying. 1.2 seconds clear of PM10 Racing in that AMG. I think the thing that's going to be key here is how well they can look after the fuel, how many extra laps they can get on the tyres. But race pace is very, very similar to that of qualifying. It's only about a second out of qualifying pace at the moment. They are all absolutely flying. And it looks like those medium tyres of Bandit didn't hold out because Avalon is through. Stormfly already battling his way through. He's up to 7th place. He's only 5.9 seconds off the leader. That's where he'll want to be. By the time he goes into the pits, he'll want to be back where he started this race. I suppose we had a 45 lap race last season. Yeah, I suppose for an hour. Sounds about right. 1 minute 20-ish. I'm saying 1 minute 20 because you've got to count for pit stops and palavers. Yeah, let's go. I think front runner's 45. I think everybody else 44. We'll see. We'll see. Demos 1.2 seconds clear of PM10, or 1.4 seconds clear now of PM10 Racing, who has got Kevin crawling all over the back of him, and it's going to be very difficult to you know the guy behind you is quick. You know that every given opportunity he's going to be looking for that gap, and if you leave the smallest gap, he will muscle his way through, given that chance. So you've got to have your wits about you, but you don't want to spend too much time defending. You want to be looking after your tyres and looking after your fuel, but also trying to catch up with the guy out in front. All the time you are spending defending and battling the cars behind you, the car in front can just disappear off up the road. And at the moment, that's exactly what is happening. Demos is just opening up that gap. 1:16.8 Kev had. Okay, he was in a different car though. I remember he was in the Corvette last time out. This time, and he gets a great run with the slipstream. Kevin will have the outside line into this corner. Can PM10 hold him off? PM10 decides instead of trying to hold him off and defend, he's just going to let him go and tuck him behind in the AMG. Now Kevin's next target is going to be Demos out in front. He already won't be happy that he didn't qualify on the front row, let alone in first. The fact that he qualified on the second row will have angered him somewhat, and to see his protege Demos 1.4 seconds and pulling away, he'll be chasing him down like that's his last meal, just disappearing up the plains in the Serengeti, and he is a very, very hungry lion. At the back of the pack, Bandit has dropped down that order, but remember he's on the medium compound tyres, but I'm not sure what benefit that's had, because they're going to outlast the fuel immensely, and it's quite high fuel and tyre wear here at times particularly for a 60-minute race, which means there's going to be a number of pit stops here. Thanos is 11 seconds up the road, 11.4 seconds up the road. He does have a penalty, and we saw him going off with Stormfly in turn 1 right at the beginning of this race. But he has not been able to battle his way up the field the same way that Stormfly has. He's now up into 6th place, of course, wigging that GT40. He's just settling nice. He's chucking his own little pace in, and he will be there or thereabouts. What you tend to find with Wiggy is he's not battling out the front early doors. he'll just settle into a nice little rhythm. He'll look after his tyres as much as he can, look after his fuel as much as he can, and just put in some nice, solid, regular laps before, towards the end of the race, putting in the hammer time he needs to, if he needs to. GMAC pits really early, and that's not surprising because that's what GMAC does. And I can't go into him when he's on the pits because of a slight little bug there. But there he is in the pits, and not surprised GMAC went in first because that's what GMAC do, isn't it? Avalon is 4 seconds up the road from Wiggy. He's made a bit of progress up to 7th place. Who's ignoring team orders? There's no team orders here, mate. It's every man for himself, DJ. Every man for himself. Isn't that right?
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare you even suggest it? Good evening, Andrew. How the bloody hell are you? How is sunny Devon? Did you get some snow today, like we did in London, or was it just another day in sunny Devon? Panos running in 6th position in the BMW. He is 2.9 seconds up from Avalon. I think we'll see a lot of them going into the pits, and we do. We see that is I couldn't see who that was peeling off into the pits, but yeah, that's Midas in the pits. That's Stormfly in the pits. A very, very tricky pit entrance here. You have to be bang on having your wits about you because it's so easy to pick up that pit lane penalty here. So Kevin out in the lead. This will be his final lap. He'll go in and pit here. So what did Jay say? Jay said 8 laps on the softs. Absolutely spot on. Jason Farley is basically Sky Race Control to my Crofty. He's my Sky Race Control guru. Yeah, so 8 laps it is, bang on. Kevin will come in this lap. Demos will come in this lap, and Kevin's now got round him. And not only has he got round him, he's opened up a 4-second lead over Demos. But looks like Demos had a bad lap of 1:21.3. He was really quick, really consistent up until that point, and then it all went horribly, horribly wrong. Yeah, do you know what? With all the time he spends refueling and going into the pits, if they still did green shield stamps, he would definitely have a teapot by now. So it's extra way it was snowing, but not in the English Riviera. Well, that's because it's a little bit more temperate climate, isn't it? It's a much nicer climate there. No, we had a splattering of snow this morning. It wasn't too bad. It was bloody freezing, but we did have a splattering of snow this morning. It kind of snowed on and off for a bit this morning. You know, when it wasn't snowing, it was raining, and then it was snowing, and then it was raining. It didn't stay around for too long, but it was a right pain in the arse pouring several cubic meters of concrete in this weather. But unfortunately, the truck was booked and the concrete was paid for, and you got to do what you got to do. You just stick some additives in it and hope it doesn't cock up. But yeah, no, it was really, really cold this morning. Did not have fun at work today by any stretch of the imagination. Right, so Demos has stayed out for one more lap. It's snowing in the Netherlands. That's because the Netherlands is it's near the North Pole. It's not near the North Pole. I know it's not near the North Pole. Yeah, there is a lot of Europe is snowing. It's because you're near to Russia. You'll send me a personal. I thought you said you're going to send me a personal massage in a minute. I thought, well, that's a little bit forward. I will eagerly await your personal message, which I will ignore until I finish doing this broadcast. Demos is running in the lead. He comes into the pits. This will be his pit time. He regained the lead of this race when Kevin went in, but his purple patch, his day in the sun, so to speak, lasted all of 6 laps before Kevin took charge and just disappeared off up the road. He was incredibly consistent until Kevin came up behind him, and then all of a sudden Kevin, with his consistent performance, went through and opened it up. Another one. So to go with the dickhead you sent me this morning written on a tyre in snow, thank you very much for that. Avalon in, PM10 in, Demos in. They all came in at the end of lap 9. So if they can stretch this out that little bit longer, what does that mean for later on in the race? Does that mean they're going to get a slight advantage? Full tank of fuel, medium tyres. Can they drag that out? That's the thing. Now, what I didn't check really was the performance in the soft compound tyre, whether it was capable of lasting a full tank of fuel. So we'll have a quick look at, not that, we'll have a look at that one. It's all well and good having a stream deck, but know which buttons do what, even though the things written on it would be useful. Right, so it is medium tyres, full tank, medium tyres, full tank for Demos for slightly more in the tank. Gap is 3.1 seconds. Minus 1.1 seconds back. He's got Stormfly crawling all over him. That's a great recovery from Stormfly to get back on the cusp of the top three. He's gone for the medium compound tyres as well in that 911. And so he'll be looking to, what we said, 16 to 17 laps on the medium tyres. Now, half a tank of fuel only really did 8 laps, so that's pretty much spot on. Yeah, 8 and 8 is 16. Math, Rachel Riley, suck it, I'm clever too. Just don't look as good in a dress as you do. Stormfly up the inside. Is he going to make the move into these final two turns, 10A and 10B, as they are aptly named, or not aptly named, it's really 10, 8 and 9. To be fair, and he does. He moves up into that top three. It's a great performance from him to rescue. It's taken him just 10 laps to rescue his race back into the top three. Avalon Shadow in fifth, and I'll tell you what, I'm slightly concerned. I'm not seeing PM10 anywhere at the moment. Avalon in fifth. Panos is in sixth. They're both on medium tyres. Wiggy in seventh. He's on the medium tyres. Fueled a little bit less though, so he's not planning on staying on these for anywhere near the 16 laps. What's the worst colour on a car? So white, because it's boring. White, because it's boring. If it's the only colour on the car, I mean, if you have white with other colours, it's okay. But for a single colour for a car, white is boring. GMAC up to 8th place, 1.5 seconds back from Wiggy. 6.2 from the back of Thanos. 6.2 seconds is the back of his car from Thanos, who is in 9th. And PM10 Racing, I don't know what happened to him, but he was doing really well up until those last few laps on those soft tyres where he stretched it out. He did a 21.7, a 23.2 and a 20.6, and that's cost him so much time. Not entirely sure it was worthwhile staying out quite that long, because he's now way back in 10th place. He had an awfully long lap 10, because obviously he was in the pits, and he's 28 seconds off the lead of this race. So an enormous amount of work to do now in that AMG to work through the order. Can he do what Stormfly did, which is make short work of it? His first target though is 9 seconds up the road, so it's going to be a few laps before he's even on the back of Thanos. Bandit in 11th position, 10.6 back from the back of BM10. He's lapping similar actually, 118.1, and he's now on those soft compound tyres, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of pace he can churn out to the cars ahead of him. He started, of course, on the medium tyres, doesn't have to run them again if he chooses not to, and that may be the answer to everything. White cars matter. Yes, you're right, white cars do matter, but it's still the shittest colour. You asked me what the shittest colour for it, well, you didn't. It was the worst colour on a car, and I answered your question. And that is what I think is the worst colour on a car. Oh no, or something like luminous green or pink or something stupid like that. On a road car anyway. See, it's different. Are you talking about a road car or a racing car? Because it's two very different things between a road car and a racing car in terms of colours. Because you can get away with a plethora of different colours on a racing car that you couldn't necessarily put on the car you take to Asda or to drive to work. Kevin, 4.8 seconds clear. Absolutely smashing it in the lead at the moment. He didn't start. He started on row 2, but he's made his way to the front of the grid and he's proving a point. Once he got ahead of Demos never really looked back. Stormfly has made his way up to second place. 4.7 seconds is the gap. Now the question is whether he can catch him. He's done the fastest lap of the race already with a 1:16.8. That equals Kev's fastest lap here in season 1. Thank you very much to Jason for the statistics. To be fair, I should note these stats more, and then I can pull them out of the bag like I've remembered them. Well, actually, it's not the case. Demos 1.1 seconds back. The worst colour in a GT3 car in Luxembourg. Purple. Why not? Why not? Let's go with purple. Yeah, so Demos started out really well. He was very regular, 117s, 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 so high 117s all the way through when he was in the lead. Kevin got closer, he lost his bottle, 121.3. Kevin goes through, and since then he's he's come back to finding a good steady pace on the mediums, in the mid to high 118s, which is a decent pace. I mean, he had one anomaly with a 19, actually the 19.5 was his in lap. But yes, steady mid to late 118s he's doing now, which is great for this stage of the race. But he's going to have to up that pace if he wants to catch Stormfly, because Stormfly at the moment is starting to pull away a little bit and close the gap, of course, to Kevin out in the lead. Midas 1 second back from his countryman and compatriot Demos, and he's lapping similar in terms of time. So one little mistake from Demos, like he had when Kevin was chasing him down, and we will find that Midas is in the top 3 and not Demos. But look at Avalon now. He qualified way down in, I think it was 10th place he qualified in. And now he finds himself comfortably in 5th. He's 4.8 seconds clear of GMAC, who will be pitting any time soon, because it's it's like lap 15. He's only been in once. He'll be getting a little bit homesick. And he's three seconds back from Midas. I did just read that, TJ. So you imagine that I am a purple car guy that suits the flavour pattern of my vape. No. Well, actually, to be fair, no, because what I've got, the bottle I've got in my vape at the minute is a yellow tip bottle. I do have a purple tip bottle, and I have a pink tip bottle, and I have a brown tip bottle. But no, I would never drive a purple car. Unless someone, listen, if someone gave me a Porsche 911 for free and it was in purple, I wouldn't say no. Let's be clear about that. However, given the choice of car colour, purple would be the last colour I would pick. Unless I had a Lamborghini, then I'd get it in purple just because I want that. Because I want people to look at it. Not that they're going to look at it because it's a Lamborghini, just because I want them to look at it more because it's purple and wonder why I'm so mental. Right, GMAC in 6th place. He's doing all right, actually. He might last. He might last till lap 20 before he has to go in again. But he is giving up a little bit of time to Wiggy at the minute. Wiggy just getting closer to him in that GT40, starting to get it dialed in. He's doing better on tyres. He's doing better on fuel. He's certainly going to be getting closer, and he's going to take that position when GMAC goes in for his inevitable pit stop. 5.6 seconds to Thanos in the Corvette. He had a really bad lap 1. Hasn't made the impetus forward that Stormfly managed to do when they both went off on turn 1. But is currently running in 8th place, 1.4 seconds ahead of his teammate. I suppose, yeah, green's a pretty shit colour for a car as well now. There is the BMW of Panos. 6.7 seconds ahead of PM10 Racing, who was absolutely stonking in qualifying. Put in some brilliant qualifying laps and to get on row 2 and to qualify ahead of his championship, or just behind his championship rival Kevin 77. Started out really well, was in a battle for the top 3 early on, but just for some reason the end of his first stint just didn't go well, and then after coming out of the pits he finds himself way down the order. That said, take a look at this, because if we look at the cars around him, so Bandit, he's on a different strategy completely. We can ignore that because he's going to come in the pits soon to get rid of those soft compound tyres. He's on a completely different strategy. PM10's got loads of fuel and loads of tyre on board. Panos, he's got less. It's not a significant difference at the moment, but the BMW is a little bit heavier on those things. Thanos ahead, again a little bit heavier. Wiggy, who is only 15 or so seconds up the road, he's going to have to pit significantly earlier. GMAC definitely will be pitting much earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him pit at the end of lap 18. He won't make it to lap 20. Absolutely not. Avalon, I think Avalon's going to be the tricky one because we know he'll put fuel in that car for 5 laps and make it last 25. He might not be putting in super hot laps, but I mean he's doing low 118s on the medium tyres while saving fuel and tyres, and that is that's front runner pace. 1.6 seconds he's behind Demos at the moment, who was initially a front runner, and now it's not working for him. His teammate Midas is ahead of him now, and whatever happened to Demos after those first few laps, it's just the magic has gone away, and he needs to find his rhythm again. He needs to find that magic to get himself back in the running, because everyone around him seems to have grown into this race, whereas Demos has kind of dropped off a little bit. But Midas is ahead of him. Midas, of course, will pit sooner in that WRX, which will allow Demos to get back ahead. But until the pit strategies kind of marry up, it's very difficult to know exactly where people slot in. And if you look at that, is really good pace from Midas. Actually, that is certainly top 3 pace. Consistent 117s at the moment from Stormfly, who is really going well, and he's on the medium tyres, remember. Really solid pace in that 911. That's I mean, that's similar to the pace that was being churned out on the soft compound tyres. Not far off it. I mean, he did 16.8 on the softs. He's doing 17.5s, 17.5, 17.4, 17.6 on the medium compound tyre. Kevin up ahead, 3.1 seconds clear. He is doing similar times, but dropping just into the low 118s. That is a fuel-saving exercise more than anything else. You can look and see there that for him, it's just about looking after the tyres and fuel a bit more. He's got a gap of 3.3 seconds, which he's going to manage now. He's going to manage that gap. He knows that if he doesn't need to push super hard, he just needs to kind of look at that time and make sure that he's maintaining a bit of a gap while looking after the tyres, looking after the fuel, and seeing how far into the race now he can take it. Obviously these guys, the HKRT guys, they practice a lot for these competitions, whereas not everybody necessarily does. We've got so much other stuff going on that sometimes you don't get a chance to practice, but we've got to start thinking about, obviously we've got Fusion coming up very soon, we've got GT Champions starting very soon, so there's a few drivers in that are going to need to spend some time with the cars. We've got the Endurance Championships coming up in April and May, Monza and at Bathurst. And yes, there's a few bits and pieces coming up that we're going to need to put some time into practice, or say they need to put some time into practicing, because I'm not racing. I've just got to go teeth and tongue and lips and then speak, or whatever people that speak say. Right, so let's turn that off. Kevin leads away 3.9 seconds. We're on lap 20 of what we think will be about 45 laps here. 26 minutes into the race. The next pin window will open in about 2 or 3 laps for the majority. Bearing in mind, well, we'll see. Maybe 3. Yeah, what we look at? So 8 laps on the softs, 16 laps on the mediums, 16 to 18 laps on the mediums. So we'll see. I mean, Kevin seems to be doing a really good job on those medium tyres, actually, and just hanging them out there for that little bit longer. But I think lap 21, 22 is when the majority will start going in. Midas will stay out. I think Demos is quite a unique position that he is dropping back, and pace-wise he's not super quick. And Avalon Shadow actually now is catching him, but it looks to me that he can stay out that little bit longer, which could really play into a good track position later on in the race. But it's interesting to see there are several different strategies out there today. That there's not one kind of set in stone. This is how I'm going to run my race strategy. They're all kind of trying different things and working in different ways to achieve what they want. And I tell you, at the moment, for me, driver of the day has got to be Avalon, because he qualified in 10th. Which is second to last, but he's working his way through the field like a monster right now, and now he's about to challenge the guy who for most of the first stint led this race. We'll go on board and see if he can make this overtake happen. Not really any pressure from behind from Wiggy. Demos is getting a little bit of slipstream from Midas up ahead, but is it enough to keep Avalon at bay? Avalon, we know, is going to lift and coast through here just to save some fuel, getting changed down, getting turned in. Really close to the back of Demos. If he gets a good run here, we could be looking at an overtake into turn 1 as they head round to complete lap 21 here into lap 22. Pit window is firmly open, and Stormfly says thank you very much for that and goes straight in to take advantage of that. Avalon looking up the inside, has to back out of it, can't make the move. The door gets slammed shut. Wiggy in as well in the pits at the end of lap 21. So I think I was bang on with the pit window. So yeah, Avalon just having to back off the back of Demos there. And the door was open, it got slammed shut in front of him and did a really good job to not plough into the back of the Greek driver up ahead. So is there an opportunity into these two right-handers, or do you just hang back, get a good exit out of the second one, and then work at making inroads with the slipstream? And it looks that's exactly what he's doing. He's getting on that power in the 911. He is tucked right in behind, just 0.3 of a second, and that time is closing with the slipstream. The only thing that's keeping Demos ahead at the moment is a little bit of slipstream himself from his teammate Midas. But he is actually closing on Midas as well. If you look ahead there, is he going to make the move on Midas and save himself under braking? Back up into the top 3 he goes. Obviously some people have pit, and Midas and Avalon have a coming together, and we're going to have to look at that, because it looked to me that Avalon just put on the gas a little bit and spun Midas around, but Midas into the pits. Was that for? No, it wasn't. Was Midas trying to get in the pits actually there, and just blocked off by Avalon? That'll have to be looked at again, I think, from both perspectives. Because if Midas was trying to come across to go into the pits, that changes the perspective of that move, because he went into that final turn wrong. But we'll have a look at it, and a judgment will be made, of course. Right, so interesting. I think the stewards are going to enjoy watching that one back. Not. Right, Kevin 14 seconds clear in the lead. He saved a bit of tyres and fuel, that's why he's been able to do that. Stormfly's come back out in 7th place, but all of those ahead of him still need to go into the pits. There's Demos running back up in the top 3. He's back up into 2nd. Avalon 2.6 seconds behind him. He's burnt a little bit more fuel. He's much better on tyres, but he's really burnt through that fuel in that 911. So whereas Demos has really ruined his tyres, he has held on to that fuel quite well. Thanos in 4th place, 9.5 seconds back though. He'll be pitting at the end of this, which is lap 23. We're past the halfway point, or just past the halfway point. And in fact, at this pace, we might make 46 laps, you know. Panos pulls into the pits as well. PM10 Racing is up to 6th place. He will stay out. He's now back up into 4th. But, bearing in mind he's got a pit, he's going to have some faster cars coming at him towards the tail end of this race. Now, I think there are many different strategies, and obviously the way you use them it matters as well. But I think soft, medium, soft seems to be the way they're going. I could be wholly well, I'm incorrect there, because Stormfly has gone soft, medium, soft. He clearly feels he can get better performance out of those soft tyres, and it take him potentially to the end of the race. Now he needs to do 15 minutes on those soft compound tyres if he wants to. He needs to be able to essentially do 2 stints of 15 minutes on the soft tyres. Now 15 minutes is somewhere around what are we looking at? Probably, yeah, it's probably close. Yes, I mean, it looked to me. I mean, it's a difficult one, TJ, because obviously I was on board with Patrick, so I only look at it from Patrick's perspective. Now, looking at the fuel, I mean, it's doubtful he would have been able to go another lap because the fuel was so low. So if he was trying to get in the pits, he was on the wrong part of the racetrack to be doing that. He should have been on the right-hand side of the racetrack to go into the pits there. So either he tried to cut across Patrick, and Patrick's got every right not to give that up if that's what he's doing, and that's why he spun, or Patrick caught him and carried on with the move, and he wasn't intending on pitting. So I think that's what we need to establish. Look, a steward's inquiry might not go in. It will be looked at. It will be looked at, and I think with a judgment has to. You can clearly see whether he's trying to attempt, which way the steering wheel's being turned and that kind of thing. Whether the attempt is to try and get across and into the pits, or not. So it's not fair of me to make a judgment either way. Obviously, one way would be a guaranteed penalty. The other way would be not a guaranteed penalty. Well, actually, there will be nothing. There'll be no further action. So if it is just Demos trying to cut across Patrick to get into the pits, then there'll be no further action because he was the one that lost out and Patrick wasn't really compromised. If it was the other way around, then maybe a penalty is worthwhile. But let's not overly debate it at this stage without having, we don't have the benefit of lots of replays to look at it from many different angles at this stage, so there's no point endlessly debating it now. Right, so PM10 Racing is in the lead of this race, albeit for one lap, and there is somebody stricken somewhere, and I haven't had the opportunity to tell them that they can't park it there yet, not quite yet, but PM10 for one lap. You miss Greta. Where's Greta?
How dare you?
I haven't got the picture on this one. I didn't have time to put it on this particular. So the stream deck is different for every single competition, and I haven't had a chance to add Greta to this one because I didn't do Greta at the end of last week. There we go.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
Yeah, empty words indeed. So PM10 will come around. He will come into the pits at the end of this lap, just lapping Bandit there, who will unlap himself, of course, when PM10 goes to the pits. Bandit on a very different strategy. He went mediums, soft. He's back on the mediums again, and I think he'll go soft at the end of this race. So there we go. So that's where you'd need to be if you're pitting. On the opposite side of the racetrack, we saw PM10 going in there. We'll find someone else who's going to be pitting soon. So Kevin is back out. He went to the pits a lap earlier. He's back into the lead of this race. 3.5 seconds is the benefit. So not much changed. So once Stormfly went in and then come back out and then everybody else has gone in, we are down to pretty much where we were previously. Avalon Shadow will come through in fourth. He's got Demos crawling all over the back of him. Yellow flag for whom? Who crashed? Well, Kevin picked up a penalty. So did he have a little foray off the racetrack? Because the gap's down to 2.9 seconds. He's got a half-second penalty he needs to serve, which will be served, I think it's round this bend. It is indeed. We'll see how much time it costs him. So he'll go through this penalty serving line here, and it is 2.9 seconds when he goes through. And we'll see once we get to the end of the straight into the braking zone, we'll see just how much time it's cost him. And that's the best place to look as they hit the braking zone. And he's on the brakes there, and it's so about a second is lost because the gap is down to 1.8 seconds. So you lose about a second for every half-second penalty here at Road Atlanta, which, to be fair, in the scheme of things, isn't too bad. There are much, much worse ones in Gran Turismo 7. So that's not a huge loss. So it's Kevin leading by 1.7 seconds from VR46, who fought his way back from the very back of the pack after a spin on lap 1, turn 1. 18 seconds back before we find anyone else in the top three, and that's Avalon Shadow. He's going to run the medium tyres, and then just before the end, he's going to plonk on some softs and go racy. But he's got Demos crawling all over him, just half a second back is Demos at the moment. He's gone for a slightly longer stint on the medium tyres by the looks of things. Can he find a way through? That is ahead. That's Bandit. He's going to need to just get out of the way as they go around this next turn. That's the best place for it. Demos having a look up the inside briefly. What the hell went on there? What happened there? So Bandit's still there. Did he catch him? Because it looked to me like he went straight through him. Ah, Thanos has disconnected. Demos has disconnected. Have we got a lobby issue? Now, are they on the same internet? Because we've lost both of them. And it looked like he just went flying off the end, but clearly got disconnected. But we lost two in very quick succession. So I have to wonder whether they're on the same internet connection. I mean, it would go some way to explain why the internet is quite so bad. If they're both racing online on the same internet connection. Yeah, that's a head scratcher. Or is it, are there storms in Greece? Is that causing a problem? Although there are other Greek drivers out there that haven't been affected. Will be interesting to find out what happened there. So we've got two DNFs in this race, and one of them was challenging for a top 3 spot, and at one stage led this race. So all change for him. Kevin is now only half a second clear of Stormfly. Stormfly still with the fastest lap of the race. McDonald's closes quite early in Greece. Are you suggesting they use the free McDonald's Wi-Fi to play Gran Turismo? I think you might be. It's not quite that bad, is it? So Stormfly looking to make a move on Kevin now. Is the opportunity there? Kevin's going to try and block this off. But at the moment, Stormfly looking very, very racy. 1:16.8. Now, there is a little bit of lag from Kevin, which if Stormfly is experiencing that same lag, which I'm sure he is, because it's a lobby thing rather than anything else. They are going to come back in the room, but not a lot they can really do at this stage. They can't carry on racing. I mean, that's something actually that F1 2022 does. That you can get disconnected and come back in and still be on the racetrack. It doesn't remove you from the racetrack almost immediately. You can get back in your car and carry on racing. But to an extent, of course. But Stormfly just can't find a way around Kevin at the moment. Kevin doing a really, really good job at defending the corners in the right places. Just not leaving the door open. And Stormfly just backing off a little bit. He's going to have to look after the tyres and fuel because they're on different strategies, of course. Stormfly on those soft compound tyres. So ideally he needs to get ahead of Kevin. Really needs to get ahead of Kevin to make those soft tyres work to the best of their ability for him. So he's only going to have a couple more laps on them before he's going to have to change them out. Yeah, I thought so, but two of you, Demos and Thanos, both lost connection at exactly the same time. So the question is, are you both on the same internet? I imagine. Yeah, very, very, very odd for that to happen, but it is what it is. Yeah, there was no doubt. I don't know if he's come back in to tell me that because he thinks I might have thought it was a rage quit. There's no, I've been doing this long enough to know the difference. And Stormfly just get a little bit squirrely there, and just almost going too wide into the gravel. Just has to back off a bit. Yeah, I've been doing this long enough to know the difference between a rage quit and a disconnection. And I know there's ways you can rage quit without that make it look like a disconnection. But let's face it, you don't rage quit, or you don't just randomly disconnect when you're in last. Or it's going really badly for you. I can tell the difference, and I know neither of them did. For them, it was clearly an internet issue. You can see, obviously, by the way, I thought he was actually going to kill Bandit, but that's not the case. So Kevin leads the way. He just opened up the gap now. Stormfly had a little bit of a wobble on those soft compound tyres. He's going to have to pit very soon, is Stormfly, and hope he can get to the end of this race. Can he get? He essentially needs to get another couple of laps out of his tyres. If he wants to run softs for the final stint of this race. Whether they last that long is another matter. If he can make it to 45 minutes into this race, then yeah, possibly. But it's going to be a big ask because it's going to be 45 laps this race, and 8 laps is really only the sort of maximum performance. I mean, that's not even maximum performance on the softs. I mean, maximum performance on the softs is going to be 6 laps. Anything after that, the performance drop-off is quite steep. Avalon, driver of the day so far, looking absolutely stonking in 3rd place. Just going about his business like a demon, really, because he qualified in 10th place and he's quietly, he's not done the Stormfly storm through the field. He's kind of made place after place as it's been presented to him, and gets himself up into third. He's 19 seconds off the leaders, and let's be fair, it's very doubtful he's going to catch them unless there is a mass crash. But he's 7.9 seconds clear of his next closest rival, who is Panos, in the BMW. He's getting really good performance out of that BMW in fourth position. He's got Midas 2.3 seconds behind him, and Midas is in that WRX that PM10 is hunting down. PM10 just whatever happened at the end of the first stint, for him it just went a little bit wrong, and he's found himself dropping down the order after the pit stops and just never really found that rhythm to move back up through the positions, and that's Panos into the pits for what will be his final stop of the race, as is GMAC. That's not necessarily GMAC's final stop of the race. He could pit comfortably 2 or 3 more times, knowing him, but I would imagine he'd like it to be his last stop of the race. So PM10 half a second back from Midas. He's going to have to stop again, PM10, but it's only going to be for a little blast and a little zhuzh and some tyres. I can't imagine, he can't take this. The tyres just won't last long enough. 45 laps is the target. I'm going to say good evening to Scotty. He's not watching, but I'm waving. Anyway, there's Wiggy up into 6th. He's been quite steady. He's on those medium compound tyres. He's going to change them out in about a lap or 2. And he'll put on the soft compound tyres. It's PM10 Racing, and that's a great shot of him making that move on Midas into 4th place. Great little overtake there, and he gets up into 4th. Can he make it stick into the braking zone? Absolutely he does. Good move from him up into 4th. If he wants to get into the top 3, 29 seconds. That's how much he's got to take out in the last, essentially, 8 laps. And it's always, when someone goes in the pitch, you can't... There we go. Kevin 77 leads the way, 22.7 seconds clear. He can't possibly make it to the end of this race on that. Surely he's going to have to stop again. I'll be very surprised if he takes that to the end of this race. So he's, I'm sure, going to have to stop again for a little blast, but he'll put on some soft tyres and probably have a little crack at fastest lap. Avalon in 2nd. He's going to have to stop again as well. And we are kind of in that pit window now for the 40. So essentially, if you want to run the softs, you've got to do another 2 or 3 laps to make it viable. I'm trying to work it out, actually. So if we... I don't think it's going to be as many as 45 laps, because if it's taken us 45 minutes to do 34, split into thirds is about 12 laps. Possibly, yeah, actually might be, actually, with 12 laps remaining. No, it's not that. Oh, I don't freaking know. Oh, no, it is about, yeah, it's about 12 laps for every 15 minutes. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly 45 laps then. My math wasn't too good then, was it? So Avalon in the lead, only briefly. He's going to come in at the end of this lap to change out the tyres. Bearing in mind that the softs only do about 8 laps. He ideally wanted to come in around lap 37, but he doesn't. PM10 Racing, I think he's bang on to do 8 laps on the softs to the end of this race. That's assuming that he does put on the softs and not the intermediate tyres. 2.9 seconds back is Midas. He will have to stop again for some fuel and certainly some tyres. So Kevin has done his final stop. He is asking his car to do 10 laps on those soft compound tyres to the end of this race. He's running in 4th. All 3 cars ahead do have to pit, and he's only 13 seconds behind the leader. So he will regain the lead of this race. My concern is he might have overfueled a little bit. I could be wrong though. It's also tyre wear, whether those tyres do last the full distance there. So Avalon in. What tyres does he put on? Does he go for the 8-lap softs or the many more lap mediums. I suspect he'll probably go for the softs and just look after them a little bit. So PM10 Racing still in the lead of this race. One more lap for PM10, and then he comes in, puts on some soft tyres, and sees what he can do. He's going to drop down. He's going to drop behind Kevin, certainly behind Stormflo's 4 seconds back. He's given himself a lot to do on those soft tyres to the end of this race. An awful lot to do. Avalon is coming out of the pits. He has put on fresh soft tyres and fueled to the end of this race. He's in 4th. 34 seconds behind PM10 Racing. I think that's just enough time to usurp PM10 out of that top 3 when he comes out of the pits, and to insert himself firmly in 3rd place, but some way behind that battle for the lead. Although, 23 seconds is not insurmountable. It's just quite a difficult ask. Wiggy up to 5th and may well steal 4th when PM10 Racing does pit at the end of this lap. So we'll see where we know Kevin's going to go through. Kevin's coming through now. He'll take the lead of this race, and we have to kind of force it past. There goes Stormfly. He's through. Avalon will be next. This is the question mark. I think Avalon's just going to make it. And if we look at PM10, he's putting fuel in now. Well, he's coming out. Where is Avalon? It looks very much like PM10 Racing has pulled an absolute masterstroke, and he's going to come out ahead, or is he? But he's going so slowly, and Avalon is going so quickly. Avalon is through. Just Avalon with that extra pace. Where is PM10? Where is PM10? He's coming out now. Where's Avalon? Avalon is ahead of him by 2.7 seconds, and he's got Wiggy right behind him, and Wiggy is already up to racing speed in that GT40. He's got nice warm tyres, and he's going to chase down PM10 in the AMG, but he's recovered to 4th place, which isn't bad going. Minus 2 seconds back in the WRX behind Wiggy, 6 seconds back to Panos. Then GMAC is 2.2 seconds back from Panos to, with Bandit behind him in 9th. Bandit is a couple of laps behind in that Mustang. But, still giving it a go. We've lost Demos and we lost Thanos with a mass disconnection event for the pair of them, assuming it was the same issue that affected them. Look, it could be a complete coincidence they both got disconnected at the same time, but I don't think it is. I reckon they're both on the same internet. And actually that would go some way to explain why we do have sometimes when those two are racing significant lag issues, because they're putting a lot of strain trying to run two cars through the same stream, essentially, for the same lobby. So we're down to 9, which would normally be enough not to broadcast a race, but we started with 11, so we get away there. And I've been quite surprised actually, because we hear a lot about we want to do like GR3 racing and we want to do, but the thing is we don't. And we had enough people sign up for this before it started to run 2 lobbies, right? And then after a couple of races, people drop off, and we've ended up like midway through the season with just struggling to get past 10 drivers to put into a lobby of 6 to 15 spots in it. I'm not entirely sure it's worthwhile doing another GR3 until we can fill up the lobby every week. GR4 and GR3 should be our flagship tournaments, but they're not proving to be that popular. In fact, the only ones, the ones that's been... Kevin, that's a mistake. Does he rescue? He does rescue it. So he doesn't get a parking thingy.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Very briefly, it was squeaky bum time for Kevin 77, but he does rescue it, and that's one for the highlight reel. Definitely one for the highlight reel. And be saving the replay to chuck that one up later. So 3.7 seconds is the gap Stormfly needs to make up. He has got some significant racing to do if he wants to win this race. Listen, He had a really bad lap 1 and was almost plumb last. So to even be up to second, you've got to give him credit for that. Definitely. Avalon Shadow up into third. That's a great performance from him. Starting 10th on the grid to make his way up to third is certainly very good. If we awarded driver of the day, he would have it, but we don't. But I'm still going to say that he's the driver of the day so far. It could go horribly wrong and someone else gets it. PM10 showed a little bit of holiday rust when he came back, and then put in some stonking qualifying times to put himself second on the grid alongside Kevin, who didn't make the front row for the first time in I don't know how long. Great first stint for PM10, and then it just kind of dropped off, and he found himself way back down the order, and with a bit of a struggle to kind of get back up. He is back now into 4th place. He's pretty comfortable at the minute, 2.7 to Avalon, which is certainly catchable, certainly doable, and he's going to have better tyre wear come the end of the race, which is about 5 laps time-ish. Wiggy running in 5th. He's actually under significant pressure from Midas. He is crawling all over the back of that GT40 in the WRX. He's getting a really good rundown into these 2 right-handers, Wiggy getting that GT40 through, and just having to back off again there. And so Wiggy gets on the power now, and Midas trying to find a way. Can he find a way through? He's got the slipstream. He pulls out to one side, comes down side by side they go, and Wiggy just has to concede there that the WRX just had so much more exit speed, and obviously the benefit of some slipstream. So Midas up into 5th place, and his tyres are in a much better condition. But Wiggy might have to fuel again before the end of this race is done. Did he underfuel somewhat? Look at the lag on that. Look at it. Just jiggly. There's Panos in the BMW. Same little issue with the lag. It's all... I don't know what the answer is. Clearly not very good internet connections in Greece. That's the only thing it could be. We race with people from America and we don't have this problem. So, or Australia, we've been in lobbies with Australian drivers and haven't seen this level of lag. And I think it's to do with quite a low, if I understand it correctly, that this kind of side-to-side lag is an upload speed issue. That it's not necessarily the download speed, but the upload speed. Is that it's not getting the signals quick enough as to where you are on a racetrack. So it's kind of filling in the gaps, almost like your eyes do. Your eyes, you know that when you see things, sometimes your eyes fill in the peripherals for you. You don't actually see what's on the peripheral. Your eyes kind of fill that in for you. Or your brain fills it in for your eyes, essentially, and that's kind of what the side-to-side lag does. It's the game hedging its bets as to where the car might be within a couple of millimetres away. Right, so as we head into the last few laps of this race, Kevin 77 has indeed put in the fastest lap with a 1:16.5. It was clear that was going to be his intention to try and win this race, and this. I think this is the death blow for PM10 Racing. Remember, after Monza, PM10 Racing was leading this championship. Then off he flew to America. He'd already dropped behind by that stage, but off he flew to America, which gave Kevin the impetus to dive and forge ahead in this competition. And now the gap is, I think, insurmountable, because Kevin is going to win this. Well, unless something goes horribly wrong. I think Kevin's going to win this race. So 3.3 seconds is the gap to Stormfly, who's done an absolute stellar job in that 911 to get it back into the top 3. 29 seconds back to Avalon in the second 911. So it's 911 and 911. Half second. PM10 Racing has closed that gap on Avalon Shadow to 0.7 of a second. Can he catch him? And can he pass him? It's a big ask from his. Only a couple of laps left, but he's just done the fastest personal sector of his race so far. In fact, his fastest lap of the race so far, which is a 1:17.1 for PM10 Racing. He is 8/10 back from Avalon. Wiggy, as we said, had to go into pits, and he's is he going to come back out ahead of GMAC? 20 seconds is the gap to GMAC. Where is he? I don't know. It's going to be close. It's going to be really, really close. It looks like GMAC is through, and Wiggy's going to tuck him behind him because he's got that long, long, slow drive out of the fucking pit lane. And Bandit was...
You can't park that there, mate.
I think he's moving over for some fellow cars, but you still can't park that there. Yes, so Wiggy out 2.6 seconds behind GMAC. That's not happening. Right. PM10 Racing. This is a good battle going on between him and Avalon. We're on lap 43. It's going to be 44 laps for these guys. I think they're not going to get 45th lap by the time they've crossed. Well, they might do. It's going to be close. It's going to be close, I think, for lap 45. Kevin will get it. I think Stormfly will get it. Whether these two do is another matter. What are we looking at? 1:17. I think actually they might get 45th lap. So do they have 2 laps in which to do it? It looks like they do. So PM10 Racing is... Do you try and make the move on this lap, planning for a lap 45, or do you sit in there in the hope that your opponent has less fuel or has to hold back something or doesn't have quite the tyres underneath them, and then make the push on lap 45? Me personally, I think you go for it on this lap. You don't rely on getting across the line in time for the to catch the timer, but if you can, make that little dive. Now, we all know from our intro video what happens when PM10 makes a dive, a last lap lunge for to improve their track position by 1. Is he going to make a move? He's not quite close enough with the slipstream to make the move here, so they are going to rely on 1 more lap. And although it's cutting it fine, they are both going to get 1 more. Well, so PM10's going to get another shot at getting third, and Avalon's going to get 1 more shot at keeping it. So they cross the line. This will be their final lap of the race. Midas will come home in 5th position. 11 seconds back from that. I'm acutely aware. I don't want Kevin to. Where is he? He is there. He's got plenty to go. So Midas in 5th. Panos will come home in 6th. Bandit will finish his race in 9th position. Still good points for him though, because of the disconnections. Wiggy will come home in 7th. He got ahead of GMAC, so GMAC's tyres just letting him down, and his fuel actually. Will he run out of fuel before he makes it to the end? So here comes Kevin. He's going to win this race now in the end. 5.6 seconds. There was a time in this race where it, I'll take every doubt, but it was in doubt at one stage. He crossed the line. Another win for Kevin. Takes 1st position. Stormfly comes around and takes 2nd. Good finish from him. Avalon Shadow comes home in 3rd. Does he come home in 3rd, or does PM10 Racing catch him? This is the final lunge to the line. PM10's got to have a look here. Surely he's got to have a look. He doesn't. He's tucked in behind. Is he going to settle for 4th place, or are they going to be racing side by side to the line? Avalon just doing the job. He's pulling out like he's going to, but I think Avalon's going to get this job done. Avalon crosses the line. PM10 crosses the line. Only a 10th in it in the end, but that's your top 4, and how they finished. And PM10 almost salvaged a top 3 there. I'm going to screenshot that, ready to update the results. Obviously going to wait 24 hours for any stewarding inquiries. DNF for 3rd. I don't know why they're in 9th and 10th, because they're both DNF. If there was an issue in turn 1, please let me know, and I will steward inquiry it, because I didn't see any taps. I just saw cars off. It was a bit... everyone seemed to get through all right, and then I saw a couple of cars were off. So if as I've missed it, if there's anything in turn 1 that needs looking at, let me know what I need to look at, and I will do so. I know there's an incident I need to look at already with that was later on between Patrick and Thanos, I think it was, that I need to look at. But we'll make a decision on that. But then Thanos didn't finish the race anyway because he got disconnected. So there we go. Another race done and dusted. Did enjoy that. That was quite good. I quite like this Road Atlanta. It's not a bad track at all. Thank you very much for joining me. Short little break in the proceedings before we start with the GR1. We've got the GR1. Yeah, check it out. We've got the GR1 challenge with Hypre, which is coming up in about 2 hours' time. That'll be here live on Black Flag Racing TV. Look forward to that. That'll be 90 minutes around Spa in the awesome GR010 hybrid. I think we've got, that's the car actually I've got right there. Look, there it is. Yeah, looking forward to that. But thank you for joining me. It's been very, very emotional to see the GR1 challenge thing right there. Yeah, I've had good fun today. It's been all right. You know, not bad at all. A couple of disconnections, a couple of crashes, but nothing too significant. But we move on. So we're back next week for more GR3 action. Tomorrow we're back with Smoking Pirellis. Thursday it is the final race of the season, and we find out who is the Thursday Tier 1 champion. Of course, we saw Chuckle last night pick up the championship for the Tuesday League. Now we'll see if Rose can. I think to be fair, I think Rose has already secured it, but we're going to pretend he can't, and we'll go into it. And then after that, we're back with the back here on GT7 for WRX versus Evo in the Rivals Series. But that's it. I'm off. I've been Aaron Pirate. This has been Black Flag Racing TV. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much. It's been emotional.